All right, in this video, we're going to be validating some of our dry fire training by doing live fire drills and exercises. So as we're at home doing a bunch of dry fire training, we want to make our way out to the range on occasion so that we can ensure that we're building good habits and reinforce those, or diagnose some problems that we have with our dry fire training, go back and make those corrections. So I'm going to present 4 drills. These are kind of like the basic foundation of all pistol marksmanship shooting. 4 drills which will support that and move into more intermediate drills on a later video. So this first one is going to be firing 5 rounds at 5 yards at a target with a 1-inch point of aim on it. And what we're doing here, we're taking away all the variables and only focusing on the shot process. The shot process being your 4 fundamentals. You're getting your body position, make sure that your grip is good, right? And then we're focusing on our breathing, sight picture, and then the trigger squeeze, the follow through on that, and then resetting. So we're taking as much time as we feel comfortable with on this, firing 5 rounds as accurately as possible, and the goal is to do 1 ragged hole on that target. So all right, and so I fired my 5 rounds. I go and make my diagnostic assessment on it, and then I try and correct some of those issues. So we'll take a look at what some of those issues might be here in a moment. So I made my corrections off of my first group. I had diagnosed what I did wrong. I had an improper sight picture, so the second time around I took a little bit more time, focused on that sight picture, ensured it was good before making my shots, and achieved that 5 rounds in 1 ragged hole. So that's the point of the grouping process, is to diagnose and correct any errors that you're making during the shot process. All right, so to correct that anticipation to the recoil, right, as they're dipping, what I do is kind of like a Schrodinger's bullet. So I hand them a pistol, and there may or may not be a round in here. When they step up to fire, I usually start with no rounds in the gun, just so I can see if they're going to anticipate or not, even if there's no round. And most of the time, they end up dipping, even though there's no round. So then you do the same thing. You tell them, hey, there may or may not be a round in here. You rack it, you hand it to them, then they go up to fire. Another click, no bang. Now they might dip again, or they might give a good shot process, right? They might be in the right mental state where they're like, okay, whether or not there's a round, I need to be focusing on not dipping. And then they hand the pistol back to you. And then this time, you do the same thing. You either give them a round or you don't give them a round. It's really up to you. They go up, they go through the shot process again. This time, click, no bang, but they went through the shot process without dipping again. I'm going to graduate them on at this point, and I'm going to throw a round in there. So they hand me back the pistol. I load one in, and then hand them back the pistol. They still don't know if there's a round in at this point, but they're going to go do the same exact process. They're going to go through their shot process. They're going to fire, and then they're not going to dip. And you want to really build this confidence into them. You tell them, good job. They hand you the pistol. You don't load one in, hand it back to them. They think there's a round in there still. They go up, good shot process. Sweet. They go through the same thing again. They hand you the pistol. You put another round in it. They go up and go through the shot process. Right? And so at that point, we've defeated that anticipation to the recoil. Now when they're going up, they're thinking about, I need to not dip. It's now a conscious decision. I'm not going to dip, and they're firing, and they're just staying calm and allowing the recoil to happen. Now that we know how to shoot accurately, we're going to add a little bit more practicality and speed to this. So our next drill is going to be firing 1 round from the holster into an A zone at 5 yards. We're going to repeat this 5 times. So after each time, you want to make some sort of diagnosis on how you fired and anything that could have gone wrong during it. So some of the things that you might see is, if you're firing outside the A zone, there's a couple common things. You're either going too fast, right? You're racing for it, and you're firing before your sight picture is in the acceptable zone, which is our A zone for this drill. Or you aren't looking at the A zone itself, you're looking at the target as a whole, the entire white as an acceptable zone. And so your eyes are on the white, you bring the sight picture onto the white, and you're moving to adjust onto that A zone, and you're firing as you're doing that. That's another reason you might be striking the white outside of the A zone. Or you might not be following the proper fundamentals. You might be like jerking a shot or something. So those are a few of the common things that you'll see during this drill. So if you notice you're doing any of those, just slow it down a little bit, make sure that your shot process is good, and make sure that your sight picture is actually in the A zone. Now we're going to look at making follow-up shots. So whether we're doing one follow-up shot or 4, 5, 6, the process is generally going to be the same. As we come up to fire, we're prepping our trigger, we fire, the gun comes up due to recoil, and then we're allowing for our sight picture to reset in our acceptable zone. Again, our acceptable zone is going to be an A zone at 5 yards from here. So one thing to note is that we kind of have this natural point of rest as we exhale. And that's where you're going to reset to after recoil, right? If we're not fighting it or anything like that, we just fire, our pistol will come up, it'll come back down, and as long as there's no extra variables interacting with that, you're going to reset on the same point. All you have to do is prep the trigger and wait for your sights to reset onto that point, and then break the trigger once you're back on it. So we're going to focus on doing that during this drill, and then make any diagnostic assessments that we need to and correct it from there. Some of the issues you might run into is firing too fast. So you fire and you think that you're back on the target and you fire again, but you're not quite there. So you're rushing yourself to get back on target. Your recoil management isn't very good. And when you do fire and you're coming down on the reset, you're coming off to the left or right. And then another one is if you're anticipating too hard and you come up and you're driving the pistol back down, because as you get better, you're going to be driving the pistol back down onto the target. You might be driving down too low, dipping, and then firing below it. So if that does happen, again, just slow it down. Make sure you fire, 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 and that you're coming to that natural point of reset every single time. So we've got 10 rounds in our magazine. We're going to do this 5 times. From the draw. For the 4th and final basic drill, we're going to be doing transition shooting. So this is just like the draw and fire, and this is just like the follow-up shot, because all you're doing is you're drawing and firing at one target, and then as you recoil, you're already making your way over to the other target. So you look at that target first, and then you fire basically as your recoil is resetting. So you fire, and as your pistol is settling back down to that natural point, fire. You're prepping the trigger at this point, and then fire. So as you're doing your transition, make sure that you fire and you're already looking at this target as you're coming back onto it, and your pistol is going straight to that point, and you're building that sight picture immediately. And make sure you work it going to the left and to the right. So again, a couple common mistakes that we can make during this is firing, and then we're trying to move our body as a turret over rather than looking and bringing the pistol over. That's going to slow down your time. Or you're overcorrecting, or you're trying to fight your way over to it. You're ripping it too far, and then you have to come back onto the target. Those are just a few of the issues that you might run into. And again, the remedy to that is slow down and make sure that your sight picture is in the A zone before you're breaking your shot. So I have 12 rounds in this magazine. I'm gonna go 3 times from left to right and 3 times from right to left. And I'm starting from the draw again. All of these drills build off of each other, so you're always going to be drawing and firing, and then you'll always be doing some sort of follow-up shot, right? All right, and that concludes the 4 basic drills. I'm gonna give one more bonus drill, and it kind of ties all of these together for you so that you have something kind of to work towards and to do as one final validating step. All right, I'm gonna give you one more drill. It's gonna kind of be the capstone of all the 4 basic ones and kind of gets you into the mindset of the intermediate training. So like I said before, all these drills are progressive. They'll move up to this spot, and then this drill will also be built off of in the future. But it's going to be putting it all together. So you're going to be working your precision, accuracy, your draw speed, firing 2 follow-up rounds, and then doing a transition as well. I'm going to be firing from the draw at 5 yards into an A zone, 2 rounds, and then transitioning and firing 2 rounds. I'm also going to be doing reloads on some of these iterations. That's just to throw in a little bit more variables and showing that you can add to these drills as you see fit so that you can get the most from your training. I don't like to do one R1 training, 1 reload, 1 training. I think it's a waste of time and ammunition. You can do all of that kind of stuff at home without actually having to fire around. And then you can throw these reload drills into these as you're doing your reset, right? So I fire the entire drill and I do my reload and a reset for the next one. And it'll save you that sort of wasted time. Or you can do it in the middle of the drill, right? Fire 2, reload, fire 2, as you're working some other fundamentals on top of just fire, reload, fire. So I'm gonna run this several times and give you something to think about with what you can do with your drills. All right, hope that gave you something to work with, something that you can start to improve your marksmanship training off of, and save you some time and money as well.